Okay, so let me be completely upfront with why I'm making a decision like this, because for many of you, this probably just seems dumb and unnecessary. I've been a two-phone kind of guy, one iOS device, one Android. I know many tech enthusiasts tend to do that, but realistically, you always go for one of the phones more often than the other one, and so you'd consider one a primary device. I got myself my first Apple Watch in 2022 when Apple released the Ultra because I wanted to track many aspects of my health metrics, and it is known to have one of the best heart rate trackers for a watch. And well, that meant that I had to main an iPhone. So I chose to get myself arguably the best phone Apple has ever made, the 13 mini, which I later upgraded to the 15 Pro Max in 2023 for three main reasons: Apple Log, the Type-C port, and battery life. And honestly, everything was fine until iOS 18 got released. I've encountered so many weird issues that added up along the way that genuinely hurt the overall Apple Magic experience. And in a way, I'm just honestly a bit sad, as I do have high standards from Apple. Like, have you ever noticed that the iOS app switcher always has the apps oversaturated until you actually click on the app? Apparently, some people realized this all the way back in iOS 13. Or if you quickly swipe back and forth between the main home screen page and the widgets page, a lot of the times it's just going to trigger the widget where you're placing your finger on. I'm not going to deep dive into all the bugs that I've been experiencing, as lots of people have already done that. And also, that's not the main focus of this video. The thing that really made me think of switching from this phone was the battery life. Ever since iOS 18 has been out, I've been personally having a very inconsistent battery life. I'll be monitoring iOS 19, or I should rather say iOS 2026, because I have to believe they'll optimize it a lot. Lots of people have been complaining, but also the 17 Air is rumored to feature only a 2800 mAh battery. That thing wouldn't last like 3 hours in a day with the current version of iOS. The thing that really made me not even want to wait for Apple to optimize it was my recent trip to Japan and South Korea. I had to rely on my phone quite a lot over there for navigation, and every single day, the battery life of this 15 Pro Max was at 30 to 20% battery at around midday. Obviously, the easiest solution for this would be just to have a battery bank on me, and while I did in fact have one, I just did not feel like this is an experience that I should be having, or for that matter, anybody should be having. Luckily enough, I had my secondary Android device with me, which at the time was the CMF Phone 1. And this phone, with almost the exact same use case, instead of having 30 to 20% battery at around midday, I was ending the day with 30 to 20%. Honestly, I could have probably just used the CMF Phone 1. The only thing that it lacked that I needed in my day-to-day life was the NFC. That was the main reason that I bought this thing. I could have easily spent my money on an S25 Ultra for the overall great experience, on a Vivo X200 Pro for the amazing cameras, or on a Pixel for the software experience. But realistically, I just want to use my phone less, and I don't feel the need to spend right now a lot of money on a new phone. While the concept of buying a minimalistic phone is just stupid, Quinn from Snazzy Labs made a great explanation about the whole concept. Buying a phone that is cheap but can still achieve everything that you need is something that I wanted to try. I've been using this phone since it got released, and let me just say straight up, the only thing that I'm actually missing from this phone is eSIM support for when I'm traveling. I depend on it pretty much all the time when I go to a different country, and I know it might seem like a big thing to ask since you don't really see eSIM support on many devices at this price range, but nothing. If you're listening, if you can manage to add that to the next phone while still keeping the same price, that might just make it perfect for what I need in a phone. The software experience has been great. I love Nothing OS. If somehow the software support was on the same level of updates as Google, which I know is not realistic at all, I would straight up prefer this over the Pixel. But let's talk about a few small things that I could see improved about the software. The gallery from Nothing, I think it's overall great. The only thing that I like them to add, which shouldn't take too long to implement, is double tap and then hold to zoom in and out of an image. This is something that works in a lot of Google apps, and it's a very useful gesture for one-handed use case. Essential space feels half-baked, and my issue with it is I know Google is working on implementing all of the Gemini things at a more deeper level, so I don't see the point of why you want to use something that's more limited, plus the fact that it would keep you locked to the nothing ecosystem. It's also a bit annoying that honestly you can't remap this button natively, but with 2 commands, you're pretty much just set. I replaced the action with a simple screen orientation lock toggle. I've done this with this app called Key Mapper. This basically mimics the exact same shortcut that I had on my iPhone. For the camera app, please allow recording while listening to music on headphones. This is something that iOS recently implemented as well. And I know this again might sound like something very niche, but as an example, I love listening to music while I'm at the gym. And sometimes I want to record myself while doing an exercise. And so if I want to record myself, I basically don't listen to the music anymore, which in turn basically makes my brain think to not push as hard, if that makes sense. Speaking about the cameras though, I've seen lots of people saying that the camera is just okay, and I do kind of agree with that. However, that's mostly because of the tuning. The main 24mm lens is actually the same lens as the Phone 3a has. Lots of more expensive phones have main camera sensors that are still smaller than this. Overall, the thing that really bothers me about the stock camera experience is the inconsistency in terms of how a shot is going to end up looking like. Sam actually did a great summary about his experience with the camera on his 3a Pro, and I did find myself pretty much in the same boat, even though the 3a Pro definitely has better ultra-wide and telephoto lenses. Now this brings me to a huge point, and nothing, again, if you're listening, add proper camera to API support for the other lenses. Why is this so important? Well, for one, it would unlock apps like Motion Cam, which by the way is an incredible app that I'll definitely make a dedicated video about it in the future. But it's not just about specialized apps. It means that any third-party camera app, or even the camera within apps like Instagram, could actually use those other lenses. And this is a big one for fixing that inconsistency I talked about. We'd be able to use a modified Gcam app to get different image tuning, which could be a game changer. In terms of performance, this is enough powerful for me. If I actually want to do any bit of gaming, it's honestly pretty much going to be an emulated PSP game. Even though the hardware isn't powerful, I found that I can run all the games that I wanted at native resolution without any performance issues or graphical issues. The only slowdown I actually noticed was with the camera being laggy and slow to process, which I did honestly expect, and it's fine. Well, it's not really fine, but I'm willing to put up with it. I'm not gonna go over the whole fiasco whether the UFS 2.2 is a problem or not, as that's just a whole nother topic that is not really worth diving into. The only thing that I'd really call not great in this phone is the single mono speaker. However, you can actually improve it quite a bit with software. I use this app called Wavelet, and you can create a custom EQ profile for the speaker. And after playing around with the parameters, I found those settings to be generally good for both music and videos. Obviously, it's still not going to sound on the same level as the iPhones or the S25 Ultra, but it improves it to a point where I actually don't hate on watching YouTube videos on it. In terms of design, I really like the screen with even borders, and I'm someone who prefers having thicker borders instead of asymmetrical ones. And as for the back, let's start with the only good thing I have to say about it. And that is the fact that I like this dual tone design, specifically the white version that I have over here, but that's where it pretty much ends. I hate the fact that they've removed easy access to the back panel. The extra universal cover is also unnecessary for a problem that they've basically caused themselves in the first place. I guess this is better than nothing, but like realistically, the replaceable back was so much better as a concept on the phone one, and they know it. I still tried to give the universal cover a go, but I've ditched it after a couple of days as it started to hold dust super easily around the camera lenses. Something else that I've noticed that I found weird, I started seeing the rough outline of the magnets, and I don't remember seeing them when I first put the case on. Also, it's not being held on perfectly in place, purely because it's just being attached to only 5 screws. So for example, this corner over here never sits flush. Also, from looking at other people who have disassembled the phone, it does look like you can still take the back panel off, which makes me wonder even more why they decided to go the route they did. Also, this is a real shame because the phone one's back design was so much better from a usability standpoint. You didn't really need a case, and if something happened to the back, you could just swap it out. That was awesome. It actually makes me think about trying to design and build some custom back covers that could replace this whole panel. You know, pretty much bringing a bit of the vibe from the phone one. Let me know in the comments if that's something you're interested in seeing. And to end it up, the battery life. It has honestly been fantastic so far. With the same usage pattern as on my iPhone, I'm getting at least a day and a half, and that's from 90%, as I have the charging limit turned on. This is absolutely great. I don't even need to expand on this. It's just great. It's always been a thing in the back of my mind with the iPhone, and it feels so good to not have to worry on a regular basis that I need to charge it. The SD card. This is something that I should have probably mentioned before. Nothing, please never remove it. As for what I'd like to see improved in the future, I would love to see a dual speaker design with general better audio quality. A headphone jack? Yeah, I know it's not happening. Bringing back the back panel design from the phone one and continue building on that. More official customization directly from nothing. Play more into the whole role of CMF. Like I mentioned before, eSIM support, and of course, one of the main reasons as to why I bought this phone, the price. You have to keep it in the same ballpark. Is this thing better than the 15 Pro Max that I've previously used? Well, no. The iPhone beats it in almost every aspect, but the key aspect that mattered the most to me was the overall experience and battery life. And in exactly those aspects, this is why I preferred this, and I'm going to continue on using it as my primary phone for a little while.